Kim. I am currently working at Tokeny Solutions. I was previously at a company called Polymath, if you're familiar. It sounded like many of the people in the room are not familiar with blockchain. Is that correct? But luckily we have just gotten educated on it now from Felipe. So on to a client that's actually built on top of on Ethereum. So what we do is we focus on tokenizing assets. And what that means is we take a security and we create a token that represents the rights to that asset itself. So there's many types of tokens in the blockchain scene. You've got Bitcoin, you've got Monero, you've got Ethereum, you've got multiple coins. But I think we need to make a differentiation between security tokens, this scene, blockchain, and the cryptocurrency scene. Those days were very unregulated. We saw a mass amount of investor fraud. Even these days, the SEC is coming down very hard on ICOs that just recently Telegram, they raised $1.7 billion, and they're getting fined by the SEC something in the range of $24 to $50 million because they were not following proper security laws. So in terms of the security token space, we try to differentiate ourselves from the cryptocurrency scene. It's more about utilizing blockchain on an enterprise level just for the immutability, the privacy in some cases, and the permissionlessness of that technology. So what can actually be tokenized? Things we're seeing these days are funds, real estate, and other types of assets like mining operations. Lots of equity is being tokenized, and debt. One of the most interesting ones that I think that I've seen recently is a company in China that's doing fleet financing for their security token offering. So basically the offering itself is equity into the company, providing the capital to grow that company out. What they're doing is something like a ride-sharing company, similar to Uber, Grab, something like that. And they're placing IoT devices all around the car. So as the car drives around the city, it's gathering data, and by purchasing the security token, you're both getting the revenue share from the growth of the company, and also the IP from all the data that's collected and sold through those IoT devices. So security tokens, right now we're seeing generally pretty simple structures of just doing raises for funds or for different real estate, but we're seeing these interesting products that are starting to come out, and I think in the future we're going to see much more unique utilization of this technology. So there are many benefits to tokenization itself. Can you guys see that? I think the one that's the most clear right now and actual is the automation of utilizing blockchain. So in terms of your cap table, you don't have to now automatically and manually update that. That can be done on chain. As far as revenue distribution, as far as tax withholdings or accounting, that can all be automated now, which is, I think, the main benefit that we're seeing. Many of the other things that we've seen in the security token space, there's promise of 24/7 markets, global liquidity, a higher speed, but what we've actually seen thus far is that the adoption isn't there. On the investor level, they're hesitant to come into the space because of what we saw on the cryptocurrency side. And from the issuance side, we're seeing a lot of premature projects that are just looking at doing crowdfunding and things like that. So right now, the key benefit of doing a security token for financing would be the automation of that. And our product is a SaaS, so we provide the servicing for that cap table. So the security token space has been, kind of a bubble unto itself for the past 2 years or so. There was a lot of hype about what was going to happen in 2017, and then it didn't really amount to anything. 2018, there was a lot of promises as well. We had a few exchanges that went live, but those exchanges have very poor spreads. There's only about 6, 7 listings on those exchanges. They don't have a lot of liquidity. The volume is very poor, and there's just not a whole lot of interest in the scene thus far. But what we see is that larger players are getting involved, like New York Stock Exchange, like Euronext, like the DTCC, and they know that tokenization is a wave of the future. I think we're going to see probably a larger uptrend in the next 2 to 3 years in terms of tokenization and security tokens itself. But really, I think these quotes kind of speak to what we can provide as proof that this industry is going to succeed. So in terms of private markets, Japan is definitely by far, for Asia, the most interesting for me. I think many of the large corporations that I've spoken to are interested in tokenization and proof of concepts. They're doing their R&D. Go back here with the JSTA. Securitize is part of that association. They just received funding from Nomura and MUFG. And many other players in the space are getting involved. But the Japanese market, because of the size of the economy, because of the exchange and the volume that already exists on the traditional markets, I think for us as a company and doing a SaaS, we definitely focus most on the Japanese market for most of Asia. As far as regulation is concerned, we're going to see probably stricter guidelines coming out in April 2020. So from there, I think you'll start hearing more in the news about the utilization of this technology, some of the proof of concepts coming out. And so what do we do in this space, in this security token ecosystem? We are the tokenization platform. We have multiple products, probably about 6 or 7 products right now, and more to come out in the future. But within the space of the security token ecosystem, we lay in the tokenization side. So about who is Tokeny? Let's just read this off. Tokeny is Europe's market-leading tokenization platform that enables issuers to access an extensive global pool of investors, automate intermediary functions, and increase liquidity in any security offering. So the company itself was founded in 2017. I joined just a month and a half ago, so I'm a newbie to the company, but I've been in the security token space for about a year and a half now, so very aware of the trend and the market condition. But I chose to join Tokeny because of their financial institution backing. So Tokeny is backed by Euronext, which is the largest pan-European exchange. It covers 7-8 jurisdictions. It has 4.1 trillion in market capitalization. And for me, to work at a company that I know is backed by a player of this caliber, 1,500 listings, the idea starts to become, for the company, doing pre-IPO listings, right? And creating an exchange specifically for security tokens with that on-ramp from Euronext. It's just, I think it was a no-brainer for me to come over. So Tokeny also recently won the 2019 Startup of the Year for KPMG, and also the FinTech 50, Top 50, was just released about a month ago. So trending, and very, very based in Europe right now. The company itself is in Luxembourg. They're opening offices in London and Paris and Monaco, and I'm leading the Asian sector. I'm based in Korea, but largely hopping around to Taiwan, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, Korea, and Japan obviously is the main market. So as I mentioned, Euronext, the backing by Euronext is tremendous. We're seeing a lot of adoption thanks to them. I think one of the largest catalysts for security tokens right now is going to be the Libra STO. So Facebook's Libra, they're looking at doing an STO for their equity. And where would somewhere like Facebook want to list that equity as a security token? Do you think it's going to be at a private exchange, private company's exchange that raised $10 million? They've got 12 listings of various startups. Are they going to list? Is Facebook going to list there? Are they going to want to list on the tokenized Euronext or the tokenized New York Stock Exchange or the tokenized NASDAQ? We're seeing many large exchanges fall into this tokenization sector. So Bourse Stuttgart is building out their own tokenization. The London Stock Exchange is working on theirs. Stock Exchange of Thailand, Bourse Malaysia, and I just had some talks with SGX. They're working on it as well. And the Tokyo Stock Exchange is doing their own proof of concepts. So tokenization of equity, of stocks and shares is something that it is bound to happen. I think it's just a matter of time. So Tokeny, we try to focus on regulation, being compliant. As a technology provider, it's very difficult to scale and to make sure that the regulators approve of what you're doing. And in that sense, we need to find partners in each jurisdiction that have the proper licensing to utilize our technology. So in Japan, we need Type 1 and Type 2 licenses for security issuance. And us as a company, we're looking to find the right partners in Japan to do so. So we also partner with DLA Piper. They are our main law firm. They cover 15 jurisdictions for us to help incorporation and creating that private placement memorandum for the securities. And we created the Digital Securities Alliance with them hand in hand to help scale in Europe. So Tokeny, Tokeny's role within the security token ecosystem, within the issuance process, all of those hexagons in purple, and it's quite a lot. We try to cover many different pieces. We try to create products that are necessary in the issuance process and steps. So we've got many different products to go through. I think I'll probably just stop here as far as the product line. But we focus on three main constituents for the products. Those are compliant issuance solutions, on-chain transfer solutions, and securities servicing solutions. So basically we focus on the issuance of those security tokens, the management of those security tokens, and the post-market servicing of those securities. So helping investors, helping issuers find investors, creating the portal for that, creating the cap table, automating that process, creating an ID. We have a system called on-chain ID for investors. It's basically a sovereign identity wallet, just like you would have a Facebook login. You can have multiple logins through that system. And we utilize that with the exchanges that we partnered with. And how are we doing with time?
You're good, you can go on if you like.
Sure. Okay, so, I think just to wrap it up, we are a SaaS. We have multiple products for creating security tokens, for managing those security tokens in the future. Does anyone have any questions, about Tokeny, about the security token space? Happy to answer. Thank you all for coming out and listening.